All right, welcome everyone. Great to see you tonight, and thank you for coming. It's always a blessing to see so many people interested in learning this wisdom and showing up. I also want to thank all the people from around the world who are going to be watching this or are watching this on demand on video, which is great, and appreciate you as well. This is an interesting series for me because I think in the last 24 years that I've been studying this wisdom and the last 20 years of teaching it, I've never really given a seminar that was more based on my personal experiences. And I think the approach that I wanted to take here is to share with you, and it was nice for me because I went back into memory lane and deconstructed a lot of what helped me and my wife, especially in terms of our career, get to where we got to, and just that fundamental role that spirituality and Kabbalah played in it. So it was fascinating for me. There was so much content that came to me, and it was hard. I started to actually parse it out and try to create a structure around it, and then I realized that is not what I think is the best way to approach this. I think I have a couple concepts that I will share with you, but I want to make this interactive. I want to see where it goes. I know that as I start speaking and you ask questions, more will be revealed and we'll go deeper. I also want, if not today, by next week or the week after, to be able to take these principles and workshop them practically live in real time with anybody who wants to go through it. Because I think also those breakthroughs and other people seeing each other have breakthroughs is powerful. So I have a couple housekeeping things just to kind of run through. First, I do want to say that I believe that people should always pay for what something is worth. And this content usually, in other formats that I've done it around the world, has a cost. All of it goes to charity, but someone was gracious enough to subsidize the cost for everyone to make it, slightly more affordable. And that person knows who he is. I want to thank him and show appreciation for that. I want to talk about this whole idea of prosperity. I want to make sure we get out of the mindset that this is not about money, because I believe that all of us are going to approach prosperity differently. Prosperity is really achieving blessings in both the physical and spiritual world. And I want to make it clear that we've all met people who have physical blessings, but they don't have the spiritual. They cannot enjoy what they have. And we know people who have a lot of spirituality, a lot of wisdom, but they can't seem to translate that and manifest that into their own personal lives, whether it's with having children, or finding love and connection, or it is manifesting financial security and wealth or free time. So I want to make it clear that for all of us, it is our birthright to have both. We need to desire and not have any negative belief system about the fact that we should see manifestation in both worlds, the spiritual and the physical. I also want to say I've realized that a lot of people here and watching haven't ever taken Kabbalah 1. Tonight is not going to be about Kabbalah 1. We're not going to rehash these concepts, but you should know that the most powerful concepts that you will learn about the game of life, which, as I said, are table stakes for winning at the game of life, is Kabbalah 1. Whether you come to a live or a Zoom, my suggestion is the on-demand version of Kabbalah1.com. Listen to it at your own pace, professionally recorded the way we're doing it here. And that is the fundamental rules that will bring any kind of miracle to your life as a starting point. I also want to share, this is also really important. One of the things that I've done in my own life, I've shared this example, I've probably invested, I calculated maybe over $300,000 in the last 5 to 6 years in personal coaching for myself with mentors, business mentors, all kinds of specialists, and expos, and seminars, and events, and workshops. And always the example I give of this, the first time I ever had to spend money that I did not think was worth it was a seminar that was $5,000 for a day. It was like an 8-hour thing. And I called my buddy who said I should come, and he said, you should come to this. I said, look, $5,000 for a day, and driving all the way out to San Diego, well, what's the point of all? And I always remember what he said. He said, remember, it's that one concept you learn that will have an ROI that is 10, 20, 30 times that. Always remember the ROI. Do not look at the price tag. And he was right, because I knew that if I had gone, I would learn one thing that would have made the $5,000 pay for itself immediately. And we always have to remember that, because we all have belief systems about paying for stuff. And we don't realize that when you invest in yourself, in your consciousness especially, it always comes back. And you should double down on it like a gambler, like an addictive gambler all the time. Double down on yourself. When I went to that seminar, I left after 1 hour because I was so overwhelmed with what I learned, I wanted to quickly get back home to manifest it. I didn't even listen to the other 7 hours. And I drove all the way to San Diego. Well, that's my point. My point is, I'm happy you said that. So I want you to be open and ask the Creator, what is that at least one thing for you? And there are things that you will learn that will change your consciousness for a day, sometimes for a week, sometimes for a month, and sometimes for the rest of your life. My hope is, and I want you to ask for it, that the one thing you learn will change the way you do something for the rest of your life. And there are so many different personal examples I'll share with you that I think through the humane lens that you'll see it might inspire you. I'll also tell you that certain things I might share might make you uncomfortable, or you might think to yourself, this guy is full of shit. And what I ask of you when that thought comes up, and it will, because remember, we're gonna challenge the very things that are holding us back. And when you do that, when you press upon that ego, the ego gets defensive and immediately finds a way to protect itself. So it will make you uncomfortable. I want you to look at whatever that is, because that will be the gateway to what will be revealed for you. I always give the example of when you're coming to a class. You know, we have these 10-week courses that most of you are coming to. And you're excited to come and you're enjoying it, but there's always that one class that you're not in the mood, you're tired, there's a lot going on, you saw what the traffic looks like, and you decide to stay home. But you need to know that because there's no time, space, or emotion, the future is also already known in the moment. Your ego knows that that class is the one that is going to cause its death. So it finds a way to make you not in the mood. And so the whole mood and what I feel or don't feel, it's a total illusion. We have to make sure we don't feed into it. So yes, find what is that one thing for you, and then practice it and manifest it immediately. Go home and do that. All right, I'll share a little bit of my personal history and details that probably even most people don't know, which will help give background and context to what I'm going to share for the next 3 weeks. So it all started with this piece of paper. This piece of paper right here. I was 15 years old. My uncle, who was coming to the Kabbalah Center and studying this wisdom for, I think, 10, 15 years, saw that at the age of 15, my life was going a little bit out of control. I was spending 12 hours a day trading, options trading, gambling, and playing poker. I would be missing school and doing all those things. So I had a very addictive personality as a kid, and it overtook my life. He handed me this paper, and he said, look, I want you to meditate on this before you do anything that is important to you, especially before you take an exam in school. You will see that miracles will happen for you. So I said, look, you know, that sounds nice, but I know what you're talking about, you're into your voodoo stuff. So he said, look, it's not religion, what I'm telling you, it's consciousness. He said, if you try to control this physical world, you'll get nowhere. You need to access the upper worlds. And that's he's like, I know you want abundance. I know you want control. I know you want power because I see the way you're living your life. But just know that it's not going to happen here. It's going to happen up there. And that was my introduction to Kabbalah, was this piece of paper. Shortly thereafter, I came to a Kabbalah one, and it changed my life completely. Fast forward a little bit, I was 18 years old. I had a dream growing up to go to a certain school. It was Wharton's undergrad program for business. This was my dream, because I thought it was the elite business school. You go to the elite business school and you do elite things and you make elite money and you have elite power, and that was the whole thing. And I focused on that for the 4 years of high school. I had perfect grades. I had perfect SAT scores. I lived next door to someone who was friends with the dean of admissions, who set up a dinner, who said, oh, you're the perfect candidate, the whole thing. It was a guarantee. I did early decision, which increased my chances. And then I got rejected, and I did not go. So I went to my teacher at the time, and I said, this happened. And he said, there's something happening in the upper worlds. It's your destiny. So I did what every Persian does, and I went to UCLA. But one of the things that I learned this it was embedded in my mind. I used to listen to these tapes, or tapes back then, of the 10 luminous emanations of my teacher, Rav Berg. And a big lesson that exists over and over again in these tapes is that time is whatever you want it to be. And this is something so profound that has helped me in my whole life to realize you hear these classes, and I hope as I'm sharing it with you, it will break your limited belief about what can happen in a certain amount of time. Okay? Now, I'll just fast forward a moment. No, I don't want to go there. I don't want to detract. I'll share that example later. But time, and I realize that being impatient myself, things don't have to take as much time as what everybody else says. When I went to UCLA, my goal was still to go to Wharton. And so I said, I'm going to get this over with in 1 year. I'm going to do 4 years in 1 year. And just having that belief system and that desire to do it brought me all the right scenarios and classes, and this happened, and this person told me to do it that way or whatever, that 15 months later, I graduated. Right before I was about to apply again to go to grad school, I was in that room, the other room that we teach classes in, and it was the end of prayers. I was praying every morning, and Rav Berg, my teacher again, saw me, and he waved me over, and he said to me, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Weird question, just to ask out of nowhere. And he said, give me your hand. So I gave him my hand, and I said, well, I have to decide between schools and what I want to do, and I'm going to reapply after I got rejected from my dream school. And so he took 2 minutes. He held my hand for 2 minutes. And he started to and this is where I really see the power of what happened in the upper worlds. He kind of looked up and looked like he was talking to something or someone and meditating, and felt a little uncomfortable. It was 2 minutes. And then he kind of looked at me, and he said, and almost like he knew, he said, you'll know soon. You'll know soon. It was that week, I was sitting in this room. I remember sitting at the table over there. Eitan Yardeni was giving a class. And I don't know what happened to me. I just lost it. And I realized I don't want to go to any elite schools. I don't want to do anything. I want to just be here, and I want to teach Kabbalah. I went to him. I said, I'm dropping out. I actually had like a couple months left. So I'm dropping out of UCLA. I'm not going to even graduate. And I want to come here, join the full-time volunteer program, which is you come here and you just devote your life to it and you just help people. So he's like, well, let's see. Some conversation went back and forth. They wouldn't let me come till I graduated. So I graduated, I came, and that was it. By the time I turned 20, from morning till night, my life was dedicated to people. I made $100 a month, but that's what it was. You got everything taken care of. You didn't have a bank account, you didn't have a credit card, I didn't have to worry about anything, I didn't have to think about anything. Morning till night, coaching and teaching, and I did the math. It was something like 30,000 hours of personal one-on-one coaching with every kind of human being you can imagine. It was the best, and it continues to be, but I'm doing it in blocks of time. It's the best 9 years of my life. It was kind of like the Navy SEAL of spiritual training, because you're forced to not think about yourself. You're forced to think about other people. You meet incredible people, and your spiritual evolution is happening so quickly because you're surrounded by people who are also helping you and supporting you, and it's happening so quick. By the time I turned 29, I got married to Mary Ruth. And at the time, I had $5,000 because of birthday money I had saved up for 9 years. And I was so excited. And what I didn't know, I found out later, but what I didn't know, Mary Ruth, which is all part of the story here of how the business started, Mary Ruth had tragedy in her life where her brother and father passed away. It's a long story, but I'm shortening it. And then her mom took over a business, and then her mom got sick and had complications from brain tumors and surgery and got paralysis. And then all of that culminated with their multi-million-dollar business crashing, and then Mary Ruth assuming the personal debt of the family. So after debt management and restructuring of this debt, because they didn't want to file for bankruptcy, because they wanted to be able to pay everybody back, it was $700,000 in debt with roughly, and I'm giving you the numbers because I think numbers are important, $30,000 to $40,000 a month in payments, with interest still running. So I'm coming in, getting ready for a new life, and I remember the 2 times that this became apparent to me. When she found out I was shopping for a ring, she called me, she said, I know you're shopping for a ring, can you keep it under $150? I said, why would I do that? And she's like, just trust me, I've already taken your $5,000, none of it's left. So I bought her a $150 ring, of which, I think molded and ruined her finger within a couple months, and she threw it away. And that was the end of that. Then, I remember one time we were having like a dinner, and we were talking, and she's like, what are some of your fears? And I'll show you my fears. So I said, I shared some of my fears, just like, bonding. And I'm like, what's your fear? And she's like, well, I'm afraid you're gonna come home one day and the locks are not gonna be, your key's not gonna work. I said, what are you talking about? She's like, well, we haven't paid our rent in 6 months. I said, what? She's like, yeah, well, I'm kind of behind on the payments because she was the breadwinner and I was the nonprofit guy, right? So that was a year or 2, I think, where I went from being that guy who helped everybody and have the process to now I gotta live it because I'm swimming in the deep end. And a lot of stuff happened. There was sadness, there was fear, there was depression. I had to grow up real fast. So I came to her and I said, and then a lot of things happened, and then she had 3 miscarriages, there was stress, all these things happening. So then I said, all right, look, I have an idea. I'm gonna leave the nonprofit world, and I'm gonna get a real job, make some money, I'm gonna help you out. She's like, I don't think you should do that. I think this is your passion, this is what you're good at. You bring light to our family and to the world, we'll figure this out. What we should do, however, is create a product line. Because at that time, she was teaching nutrition, because that's what she's good at, she has experience in. She started to teach nutrition one-on-one to her clients, but even that was overwhelming her, and she was working till 11 o'clock at night. So I said, all right, I know nothing about anything that has to do with creating a product. She's like, yeah, but you cannot leave the KABBALAH Center. You have to stay. So what happened was my day would finish at 8 p.m., and I'd come home, and from 8 to 3 a.m., I had to teach I had to learn everything there is to learn about making a product, designing a product, Facebook marketing, Amazon marketing, manufacturing, supply chain, and all of this, by the way, we have no money. And it was hours and hours of teaching myself, how to make a label, how to do these things. I would call manufacturers. I would learn as much as I could in the mornings. It all came down to finally a formula that she wanted to make. I called the manufacturer. And I said, look, there's a product that we want to make. And this woman's like, well, okay, MOQ, minimum order quantity, is something like 5 to 10,000 units. And this formula is gonna cost you, $20 a bottle. I said, look, I have $300 and I want 20 bottles. She's like, sir, you're wasting my time. And I said to her, look, I promise you I will be your biggest customer one day, but I need you to do this for me. I need you to just send me 20 bottles. Just make it in your lab and send it. And she stood on the phone and she's like, I don't know why something's telling me I have to say yes to you. And she did it. She sent us 20 bottles. We immediately shipped it to Amazon. I think within like a week we sold 20. And I remember the day where we made like $300 without having to do anything because it's sold on Amazon. Right? You don't have to do it. And I remember she came home that night and she cried. And I said, why are you crying? She's like, I've never made $300 without having to give my, sacrifice my life for it. And this could be TMI, but I'll share it. Like even in her third, it's a horrible story, and I get sad every time I think about it, but she had meetings every hour that she had to take because she was getting paid $300 an hour for nutrition coaching. And she had to pay the bills. She had a miscarriage, the miscarriage during the session. She excused herself, but didn't cancel the meeting, went to the bathroom, had the miscarriage, came back. That's when so there were so many stories like that. But when I heard all of these things, that was kind of the impetus that, kind of moved everything forward in a really quick way. So what happened after that? Long story short, after that, it was just miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. Like, we have no formal training or background, but something happened that just every door opened. But it was the 2 darkest years of our lives. But having the wisdom of Kabbalah, having spirituality, having, her fortitude and never giving up and making me not compromise my path and all these things, all of it together, opened some kind of miraculous floodgate. And, the business, just to kind of put in perspective, has been around for 10 years now, has grown. It has 25 million customers. It has 130,000 points of distribution all around the world. It's in 40 countries. And it has taken on like a life of its own. And throughout this whole journey, there so many unique challenges came up. And I know that I'm gonna speak for myself, I don't know about her, but if I had dealt with these challenges without consciousness, it would have been, none of it would exist. None of it would exist. So there are these key moments that come in your life, and the challenges come, and people screw you, and they steal from you, and they stab you in the back, and all of a sudden, I don't know, there are times where our account got hacked, and our money was seized, and ransom potentials, and this, and all these different things happened. And remember, Kabbalah would always just teach, do not react to the situation. And not only do not react, you get excited about this horrible thing that could actually ruin your whole life. And always the illusion disappeared, and a greater miracle came, to the point now that our team has been trained that when it's very bad, it means it's gonna get very good. And it's embedded in their mind because they've seen it happen over and over again. But it only happens when whoever you are leading your team, your company, your family, your friend circle, you have the consciousness, because it all trickles down to everyone underneath. Whatever your limited beliefs are, your employees will have them. Your kids will have them. Your family members will have them. Your friends will have them. Whoever depends on you will download the limited beliefs and the fears. This is a concept that I've shared a lot about. And I want to start off with this, and then we have about 3 concepts we're going to learn today. Very powerful things. It doesn't matter how many secrets you're going to learn now. If we have a limited belief system about receiving, that is as full as your cup will get. What do I mean by that? There are people that I know and I've met and learned throughout the years, myself included, where they have a very easy time making money and success up to a certain point. So if I had to simplify it, let's say I know a guy that can easily make $150,000, no matter what, in a business or as an employee. Easy, he knows how to do it. But every time he tries to make more, he has chaos. I know another guy who easily can build businesses and do things, get to $1 million. But as soon as that $1 million happens, there's problems, people quit, there's lawsuits, his health, something happens with his health, he gets tired, he gets moody, something happens at the $1 million mark. And there's different marks. I know people at 10, I know higher. There's something that happens that they can easily get there, and then something gets stuck. We see this in relationships. There are certain relationships that you're good at until maybe commitment is involved. Or there's something that happens where everybody just falls apart. That moment where in the physical world things fall apart is indicative of a limited belief we have about receiving. So many of us have done already so much spiritual work that we have already received the blessing in the upper world. But the routing number is not there to wire those spiritual funds to us. Because we don't think we should receive it, or we're afraid to receive it, or we believe that if we receive it, something else will happen. For example, everybody says they want to grow their business. I spoke to somebody about it yesterday. I said, I think you can 5x based on what she told me, I said, you can 5x your business, like in the next 2 years. She said, all I heard you say is I'm going to 5x my stress in the next 2 years. So immediately, what have we just learned? Just about what she said. She believes, even though she tells everybody, she has a deck. She has an investor deck that she's going around raising money. She has a little investor deck that says, hey, I'm raising this $1 million in my round whatever. And she's showing it to all the investors and all these VC funds and families. And you know what? These financial engineers, they're very smart. I've never met a stupid financial engineer at these VC. You know what? And they're very intuitive. So you know why they pass on these beautiful, pretty decks? Because they look at the founder in the eyes and they see the limited beliefs. Because they're not investing in your deck. They're investing in you. And if you believe 5xing your business means 5xing your stress, you're not going to grow the business. Because you're going to secretly hope every day that the business doesn't grow. And you'll send out memos about growth, and you'll have marketing meetings. And you know what? When that, I don't know, maybe if it's an agency you need to hire, when that great agency comes, you think, I don't feel it. When the right people come that could help you, you'll reject them. And when the wrong, destructive people come, you go, that's my guy. That's my guy. I feel it. What do you feel? What do you feel? Your limited belief system found its soulmate. The bad manager. Because otherwise, How are we not smart enough by now to know who's right and who's wrong in relationships? And by the way, we have years you get to date someone before you marry them. How did we not know or see? So this is a very important, there's nowhere even to go until we recognize this about ourselves. Because we all work very hard. I think we all put in the same hours every day. The difference is, and I always give the analogy, it's tired by now, but I'm gonna say it anyways. If you and Warren Buffett, or you and Elon Musk work the same hours every day, the only difference is he believes he deserves more. So his vessel is just bigger. But you're both working the same amount. There's only so many hours somebody can work. So the only difference is consciousness. It's just consciousness. Break open the consciousness, then things happen. They happen. One of my mentors is like 27 years old, okay? But every time I talk with him, he opens my mind up about stuff. About 5 months ago, I felt the business was stuck. It was growing, but I thought to myself, why can't it grow why can't it double? 10%, 20%. And then everyone told me, it's a recession, and you should be lucky and happy you're growing. It didn't feel right. Who cares about what's happening to other people? I don't care what's happening. So I went to my 27-year-old mentor. I said to him, hey, look, I want you to take a look at my business. What am I missing here? That's part of one of the things I do is I have a chat. I have two chats on text of 10 different people in each one. This chat is just founders who are, I think majority of them are even younger than me. Self-made founders, and everything that I want to do, I share in the chat. And these guys just tell me where I'm limited. That's like their only job. It's a very powerful thing to get real-time feedback from your mentors and peers about where you're limited in real time. So anyways, this 27-year-old kid said to me, David, you're too scared about spending money on marketing. I said, what do you mean? He's like, how much are you spending a day on Facebook? I said, X. He said, I want to see 20 times that in the first week. I almost had a panic attack. I said, what are you talking about? Everybody knows that Facebook is this and it's broke. He's like, David, think big. He's like, January is your best month. That's when people want to be healthy. Get out in front of them. He's like, what's the worst that's gonna happen? You're gonna lose all your money? Go for it. So many beliefs, so many things came up for me in that conversation, but I knew he was right. And then I called the team and I said, guys, we gotta do this. They said, are you crazy? This is gonna fail. You're gonna fire all of us. And I said, we have to do it. We have to figure out a way to do it. Anyways, long story short, we did it. And it was even better than what he had said. But I got advice from this 27-year-old kid who taught me that the whole business is suffering because I'm limited. This is why they pay so much money, by the way, to these CEOs. Everybody scoffs out hundreds of millions of dollars they pay to the CEOs. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you, and I might get canceled for saying this, but I'm just gonna say. There's a reason why they pay this CEO of this $500 million a year. $500 million a year some CEO makes. Why would they pay such? He's not on the ground making it happen. He's sitting in his office, just yes, no, yeah. But you know what they're paying for? Unlimited belief. That's what they're paying for. You're paying this guy $500 million because he doesn't have a limited belief the way you do. And everybody under him is smarter than him, by the way. But He doesn't have the tikkun, the correction, the daddy, the mommy issue, the whatever issue that he didn't resolve, his trauma around, I don't know, the more rich you are, the worse your life is, therefore I don't want to be rich, or the more employees we have, the more stress we have, therefore we should shrink. He doesn't have that stuff. Give the man his $500 million. That's what consciousness is worth. That's what cleansing your fears is worth. That's what removing your traumas is worth. It's worth $500 million. Who cares even about what school you went through? These guys making billions didn't even go to school because they thought school was stupid. They thought, I don't care what anybody thinks. Now, I'm not saying those are a dime a dozen. I'm not saying that's us. But what we can learn is it's all consciousness. So the first exercise I want to do with us, before we get into the meat, is I want you to think of an area that you're blocked. So something just not moving. It can be anything, it's not moving. It's not moving. And then we're going to share in twos. What is the limited belief system you have about receiving in that area? Very simple question. The way to rephrase it is, what are you afraid of if you were to receive this blessing? Because you're technically afraid of receiving the blessing. Pick any area: relationships, friendships, children, sustenance, spirituality, intimacy. Pick an area. Let's spend 2 minutes real quick, share with the person sitting next to you. All right, everybody. I want to take a minute. Questions or something you want to share? Questions or something you want to share? All right. Questions or something you want to share before we move on? Any questions? Okay. Yes, please.
So for me, it's kind of like I'm not afraid of what would happen if I received the blessing. It's like I'm afraid if I try my whole life to receive the blessing and do everything possible to receive it, that what if I still don't receive it?
Oh, that's good. You understand? What's your name?
Daniel.
Daniel. Everybody heard what Daniel said? So that's very powerful, by the way, that you just recognize that, because I think so many of us have that. If Daniel's basically saying, if I try and I don't succeed, what does that say about me? And that means that you're going to have to face, I guess, the truth that you're a failure, right? That's to see the truth, right? It reminds me, I always tell this, it's a sad story, but it reminds me of the story of the girl that I met, I think when I taught my first Kabbalah 1 ever, here, like 20 years ago. And I met this girl, in my meeting with her, my one-on-one meeting with her, she showed me a photo of this beautiful little girl. I said, who is this? She's like, that's me. That's me a year ago. 120 pounds less. So I said, okay, well, what's the story here? Why are you telling me this? She's like, well, after taking Kabbalah 1, I learned what my correction is and all the things I'm learning about why my soul came to this world. And basically, I was dating this great guy. And we were going to get married. I finally met the greatest guy. But then I realized that if this great guy leaves me, what does that say about me? So I gained all this weight so that if he would leave me, it would be because of the weight. And he left. But do you understand what she did? Yeah, it's a form of self-sabotage that's very obvious. Right? She built a physical layer of protection around her that's actually her weight. So if you really think about it, we do that all the time. By avoiding stuff, that's our protection. By not taking calculated risks, that's our protection. By not confronting people or telling people what we want or what we need. This is all form of protection and staying small. It's very good. So to change that, for example, for Daniel, for you, it would have to be, because what your ego is telling you is, I cannot handle the pain of what it would be like of failing. The only solution I've learned is to be willing to die. Like you literally have to say, I don't care, I'll die. I don't care, I'll be the biggest failure in the world, everybody will hate me. And visualize the whole world hating you. Like visualize comments on your social media, you're the worst, the worst comments. And actually, you should actually write down all the bad comments about yourself. And then get really comfortable with it. Because once you have that, right, the person with everything to lose is not as dangerous as the person who has nothing to lose. Once you get to that place where you're comfortable with anything happening, then you can move forward. Yeah.
I just have a general statement based off of what me and my partner shared. Yeah. It seems like we both have a fear, and there's this just like you were saying, there's some form of self-sabotage going on, a barrier, because we're there, we're both in good positions, we both achieved every goal necessary to become whatever stature that we have, and there's this threshold. In this threshold, there's certain things that are just blocking us. And it's not an actual physical, no, you can't. It's mostly my mind or something within me that's telling me, you know what? There's something there, and it's not a big deal. For example, right now I have a position at work, and there's a form of success that I have to achieve in order to be able to move forward. Okay. But there's this premeditated fear in my mind that if I don't achieve that, then I'm gonna just fail, period, point blank.
What do you mean? What does that mean, fail, period? What do you mean?
I won't make so I have a marketing position as an attorney. And right now, what's going on is that I have my salary and it's capped. Beyond my salary, past that, whatever settlements I get, that's mine, past the cap. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I'm doing all these marketing and everything's great, everything's coming to me and I'm growing. But the salary is staying at that cap. You know what I mean? That's my
Does it have to be that way?
I'm not, well.
Who's your boss? What's the first name of your boss? Or make up a name.
Joe.
Joe's your boss, right?
Sure.
Is he the owner of the company?
Yes.
Okay. So in an ideal, all of this that you said sounds great, but let's pretend none of it exists. In your ideal world, what would you want in the next 24 hours?
So the thing is that in the ideal world, I'm very happy with you.
No.
Wait, hold on.
24
hours. 24 hours
yeah,
from
24
now,
hours,
I want
What do you want just give me the base.
I want my salary to be overflowed, meeting cap. I meet my cap with everything that I bring in, and then tripled. Right?
Okay, so triple.
So as an attorney, I get cases, I settle them, and then I get more money out of it.
Okay,
right?
so you want triple.
Sure.
Okay. It's very simple. Here's a framework I put on myself. If I want something and I don't get it in 24 hours, I know that there's something wrong with my belief system. So I have this rule that if I can't manifest something in 24 hours, or at least move it so far down the field where it's manifesting, something is wrong in my brain. And then I'll sit and ask myself, what's wrong with my brain? 24 hours is my time limit. And I'm not saying it has to be yours. But if I tried to imagine I'm sitting here, what would I do if I needed to make triple the money? I would walk tomorrow to Joe's office. I'd be like, Joe, if I make money, you make money. This is the number I need to make. What do I need to do to make that number in the next week? No, and then Joe says, no, Joe, you don't understand. I have 7 days to make this number, and I will do anything to make the number. Joe, you've never had an employee like me. You've never had somebody as devoted as me. What do I need to do to be devoted to you? What do I need to do to be your number one? Joe, who's your number one here?
So let me explain something to you.
I want to go to talk. I just want to go talk to Joe myself and get his job.
Guys, no. Let me reiterate something to you. this is an opportunity for me to grow myself. Joe is done above and beyond.
Okay.
The marketing aspect of this is my push.
Okay.
My blood, sweat, and tears that goes in it that expands my entity within this firm. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So Joe can sit there and say, yes, sure, but Joe doesn't need to, Joe can.
So who's in control here?
Me. It's me, it's my
Is there
it's
anything
my
you
strategy.
can do in 24 hours?
Yeah, I'm sure there is.
See, by the way, you probably didn't even think about that until we just said it, right? It's uncomfortable, right? So I would say, like, it's a fun game to play with yourself, because if you go home and say, I have 24 hours, and you create a false pressure around that, because if you don't create the false pressure, the real pressure comes. So I love creating false pressure because I don't like real pressure. People who know me, I hate discomfort, chaos, people telling me what to do, being controlled. I just realized if I always create 24-hour pressure around myself, the whole universe looks at me, and the universe is like, oh, I'm not gonna touch this guy. He's already pushing. So I think I would love to know, like, what happens. I'll even give you a week. 7 days, tell me, because if you aim for triple, you'll get at least double. You'll hit a double or a single. But still, that's big. That's big. And there's obviously a reason why your soul wanted to share it right now.
Right, and I was gonna actually ask you, when you're saying 24 hours of like this pressure that you're talking about, many of us, what I realize now thinking about this type of pressure, many of us have this debilitating anxiety when it comes to associating themselves with being in a pressurized situation, which kind of manifests that like blockage that I was kind of talking about earlier, which prevents us from pushing through that threshold.
Okay, because here's what some people are thinking right now. David, I'm not here to sacrifice my health and my happiness for your view of a 24-hour tripling. It's not worth it to me. There's no balance in that life. Guys, one person had to be thinking that. Just one. And that's correct, because I think that too. But the point is that it's even a limited belief system to think that tripling has to come with anxiety. Remember, it's all tied in, because if we pull on that thread, that whole sweater's coming undone. Why does it have to be anxiety? Why? That's also, like, we got to dig into that. If you take the time to actually dig into that, you'll realize it's all these false things that we've created that's not allowing us. Again, it's not going to heal overnight, but I want us to just start realizing that's where the answer is. Thank you for sharing. That's good. Let's do one more and then we'll move on.
Thank you. Just a comment on what you just said right now. For me personally, I've been up till probably 5 a.m. every night for the past week at least, because I'm uncovering things in my father's business that I'm working to take over. The anxiety, as much as you can have the confidence in yourself and the work that you're doing, I think for me personally, it comes from the sense that time is so finite, and as much as you accomplish in 24 hours, it's just not enough. It's never enough time.
Never enough time.
I have so much as one person that I need to do.
Yeah.
I feel like I can do it, but trying to achieve balance in every other area of my life and just figuring out how I'm going to tackle 100 different things. Of course, at some point you need to delegate, but the anxiety is just because there's just there's so much.
Right.
How do you ever cope with?
Okay, so this is very good. I think what we're learning next week is something I call fruits and roots, is that there's a way of manifesting quickly and then stepping back and building deeper roots that has to do with your health, anxiety, and balancing everything, and then moving quickly. Because what I want to emphasize for all of us is doing things with momentum quickly and hyper focus actually makes it very easy. For example, I went for a run, with my wife the other day, and she was running like this, and I'm like, this is exhausting. We're moving an inch and you're going like this. I said, if we sprint, it'll be easier. So we actually sprinted, and it was so much easier because it was forward. And what I realized the analogy is there's a lot of this And with the right coach, or with the right person who can kind of see some, and that's why I keep people around me who I believe are smarter than me, they will easily say, hey, just, there's a lane to go through. So what I want to say is, like, don't get anxious, because I also, when people tell me what to do, I get anxious, and I'm like, I realize that it's a message. Now let's find the right system to move us forward, which I'm going to talk about with the next couple of weeks. Because we just opened up the first concept, and it's already bringing up stuff for all of us. But that's kind of the point. That's where we know the path is. That's where we know where the path is. I want to share this, our second concept. All right, I love this. This is called the spiritual flywheel. I learned the concept of a flywheel. It's an Amazon concept, if I can share it with you. Do you guys like to hear like these little secrets about Amazon and how things work? All right, because I think it's fun and it's relatable. I think like the whole like Bible and the Torah is like in Amazon. It's like a very fascinating thing. Like every spiritual lesson of life is like within the framework that's called Amazon. So I'm gonna give you a huge secret that normally you'd have to pay $5,000 for, and some kind of guru who stands by a Lamborghini to tell you about how to sell on Amazon. I'm gonna tell it to you in 30 seconds. How does a product, if I wanna sell this chapstick on Amazon, there's 5,000 chapsticks on Amazon. I'm gonna sell this chapstick. How am I gonna do that? If I just put it on Amazon, which is easy to do, it takes you one day, I'll be on page 1,000. And when you type in chapstick, you would have to click 1,000 pages before you find this one. So how many am I gonna sell? I don't know what the stats are, smarter Amazon people than me, but something like 95% of sales just happen on the first 2 pages. So if you're on the 3rd page or the 4th page, so imagine the fight to get those 20 spots. 5,000 people fighting for 20 spots. How do you get there? That's the first question. Second question. When I had a product on Amazon and the search was suppressed, meaning if you typed it, you couldn't find it in search. I went from selling 100 units a day to 50. Why even 50? You understand the question? If search is suppressed, how are people finding my product? Because I'm still selling 50. Then you realize that Amazon has a whole flywheel system, frequently bought together. People who bought this also bought this. Have you considered this? A sponsored ad, email, whole other world you don't know about. So here's the secret of why so many people made so much money on Amazon. On a website, to make money, you have to drive Facebook traffic to your site and introduce people to the product. Say, hey, buy this chapstick. I saw a Facebook ad, some woman like did this, her lips grew big, like, wow, amazing, go buy this. Something that hooks you, right? And then you go to the website, you check out, it's done. If I turn off the Facebook ads, how many sales am I getting on the website? 0, because the only traffic is coming from Facebook. Amazon's different. If you send traffic to Amazon and it works, people buy, Amazon then says, people like this product. This is a relevant product. Relevant. It's a big word. Amazon's like, I will now market this internally for you. And it's called the Amazon flywheel. Amazon then says, I will promote this product internally because Amazon's algorithm sees that this thing makes money. A lot of ads on Google is Amazon paying for other companies. Because Amazon wants to promote you. Because Amazon's making money. It's called the flywheel effect of Amazon. And there's ways to trigger the flywheel, which we'll talk about later, that has spiritual ramifications. In life, it's the same thing. The concept of finishing what you start sounds so simple, you've heard 1,000 times, but I want a new perspective around it. 95% of your hard work will yield you 95 units of energy. But the last 5% done with momentum will yield 10,000 units of energy. You kick off the flywheel in the last 5%. So the negative side doesn't get involved in the first 95. The negative side gets involved in the final 5%. But We all give ourselves attaboys and pats on the back that we got to 95. It's like getting the ball down to the 5-yard line, and right before the end zone, you say, okay, I came all the way. But right here, and you clap for yourself and you walk away. Just put the ball right there. This means nothing. The score is not changing if it's here, or if it's there, or if it's there, or if it's right here. The score is not changing. Score changes as soon as you cross the line. The negative side, the opponent, the Satan, will do everything in its power, will confuse you at that moment where you get across the line. The biggest way I've seen people get confused is new opportunities come. Hey, I got this new opportunity. What? I said, did you finish the first thing? No, but it's the Creator. The light is showing me a new opportunity. Even if Moses himself came down and said, listen, Joe, I got an opportunity for you. You have to tell Moses, listen, I hear you. I got to finish this. You got to go all the way with it. Because what happens when you finish things is you reveal these 10,000 units of energy. And the energy then can go into new endeavors or other parts of your life. It's that atomic light that comes from when you finish something. And you do it with momentum. Because at the end of the day, it's all about bringing things to fruition. As soon as you bring something to fruition, you reveal the light. It's like a baby that's being born. As soon as the baby is born, it wipes out all the pain, all the pregnancy and the nausea and the birth. The baby's born, it's done. But until that baby's born, it's hell. And there's a price to pay. But you don't even remember the price after the birth. So you have to give birth. You have to manifest things. Even if they are the wrong thing, you need to manifest them. And I know myself, if I don't do it in 24 hours, it's the negative side gets in there and confuses me. I just got to finish it. I had an idea, I have to manifest it in 24 hours. And then I could do something else on Friday. So I'm going to pause right there and see what you think about that. I can give you examples about this, if it will be helpful. Okay.
How do you understand what can be manifested in 24 hours?
How do I know?
Yes.
Okay, so give me an example of.
So for example, you said, I want to double my business, right?
Okay, I want to double my business.
Can you double your business in 24 hours?
Can I double the business in 24 hours? Yes. That was the question I asked the 27-year-old boy. He's a boy. The story sounds so much better when I make him seem like, then I'll say that it was a kid, toddler. He's a toddler. Because he said, Dave, you can double your business overnight. And from the moment I did what he said, it doubled in one night. But we achieved more in one day than we had in 9 years. It was the craziest thing I ever saw. It broke everything. Every shelf in every store in the nation went out of stock in 3 weeks, to the point where now we went from their best brand to their worst brand because of out of stock. This boy broke the whole business. This boy did in one day what it took me 9 years to do. So, I'm sorry? What did he tell me? He told me 3 things. Number one, I had to up my spend by 20 times. Number two, I had to create a funnel of advertising and marketing that he gave me the whole system. He showed me this. He showed me the spreadsheet. He said, "This is how you do it. You have 100 people. Huh? Can you have it? Guys, this stuff is under NDA. He said, here's, you have he's like, it's very powerful, I'll share with you. He said, in the next 72 hours, you need to find 100 people who will create content for you. So our people called, 100 people, gave them a script, said, here's ship them the product overnight, create the content, 100 people. Then you need to create 1,000 hooks. What's a hook? It's that first thing you see that makes you go, what is that? When you're, well, what's that? And by the way, I'm sure people have seen the ads here. It's a hook. And then you got to test those 1,000 hooks. And then I don't even remember. It hurt my brain. I had my team deal with it. But it was like, and then you do this, and then you test it, and then you fail, and then you test it again, and you analyze it, and you test it. And he's like, and he said, David, you have 7 days to show me that you did this. I'm giving you my template. 7 days to do it. And that was it. The whole team scrambled. Everyone was upset. Everyone's like, what do you do? Everybody was upset. But he said something, it felt right, we had to try it. Otherwise, what are you ever gonna do? I made sure that what was the worst case scenario? I checked the worst case scenario. I walked over to the CFO, I said, are you happy with the worst case scenario? He's like, no, but fine. I went to my wife, I said, are you happy with that? No, but fine. Everyone digested the worst case scenario and then pushed it forward. I remember when I made the decision to be full-time here in the Kabbalah Center, somebody said, how do you know that you're throwing your whole life away? A lot of people thought I did. I said, look, I don't know if this is the right thing, but if it's the wrong thing, I'm gonna come back next life and fix it. Because if I have to second guess myself every day, I'm gonna always feel like I'm in a cage. So you have to just try things. The worst thing that's gonna happen is your ego is gonna get hurt, that's it. And I know people tell me, but I have kids and you gotta be careful. Look, you have to just look at your worst case. Just make sure you can digest your worst case. 99% of the time you can. You just haven't really thought about how bad it can be, and then just feel it. You know what? I'll come back from that in the worst case. The worst case, yeah.
So on the spiritual flywheel and the concept of finishing, that last line says finishing means seeing it to the end or dropping it and never thinking about it.
Correct.
How do you, on that dropping it part, how do you sort of distinguish or make it pass judgment on whether that sort of this is not for me or this is not the right path unlocks any units of energy?
If you're not able to push it forward, you should kill it. If you can't push something forward, you should kill it. The worst is when things hang around, because they suck energy. It's called klipot. Anything that, and the whole Marie Kondo thing that just like billions of people watched, well, all she said was this concept. What is, Marie Kondo? The whole closet thing? If it doesn't bring you joy, throw it out. What was she basically saying? If this thing isn't generating energy, it's sucking energy. How many of us have actually cleared out our closet and we felt great? It's because the things that sit there that you haven't worn for a year become black holes that suck energy. They actually suck inspiration. You walk in and you lose wisdom. So if you actually look at your to-do list, if you look at your emails, all of these things sucking energy. There are things that you should not be doing. If you're making $300 an hour and you're doing things that someone could do for $15 an hour, it's a black hole. You have to let it go in 24 hours. And if you just put it out there, you'll find the right person who would love to do it for $20. But we're so obsessed with, I gotta do it, I gotta control it, no one can do it better than me. It's this thing, we all have it, I have it too. And until I met other founders that said, no big deal, just let it go. That's what I did, it's so easy. And I'm like, you make it sound so easy. He's like, yeah, it's so easy. You just give it to this one and then they do it. And then they do it. That's what he said. You give it to this one and then they do it. And guess what? They do it better than you. Lo and behold, they do it better than you. They do it. What if it's your baby? What is your baby? What is a baby? You have a secret about the baby?
About two of us.
Wait, did we answer the question? Did we answer the question? Did we answer the question? Okay, good. All right. Wait, one thing, because I want to share one more concept before we go. Yeah.
You mentioned quite a lot of.
Put the mic closer to your mouth there.
You mentioned quite a lot about the pressure of 24 hours. So
Yeah.
I have to admit about Secret. We're both working together in the same business.
Close enough.
In the same business, and few times in the last few years, we didn't manage to cross a certain level. And I found a worse trick that in my life.
You found what?
A worse trick, but it's always working. So you're asking if we can double, as the answer is very yes. Every time my wife wanted something, and she's sitting here, I said we can't do it. Because we lost sale, we can't have it. And I'm giving her 48 hours to do it. For example, Rosh Hashanah. We can't go to New York. Why? We just lost a few clients and we can't do it. And 48 hours, she doubled our sale.
Because he tells me no.
Because I told her no.
And that motivates me.
And in 48 hours, we double our sale.
Okay, so wait.
And I'm not talking about one time.
Every single time.
It's almost every single time, but you need to say truly no, not like, okay, let's do it.
I don't recommend that husband and wife always work together. It's not a good. It's not
Okay, so they found out a formula that when, okay, that's great. I like that. The when you say no to your wife, it motivates her and she can create a miracle in 24 to 48 hours. It's interesting. I like it. It should, that's not the ideal. It's not the ideal, right? So Sarah, your job will be to be able to create that at will, whenever you want. That will be obviously the most powerful thing.
I have to be motivated not by the fear.
You have to be motivated not by the fear.
I'm motivated by fear a lot, or the no, the Aquarian, the no, the this.
Yeah, you're Aquarius. Aquarius don't want to be controlled or boxed in.
And he's been in business his whole life, and I've been a teacher.
Yeah.
I've been a Kabbalah teacher. I know nothing about business. This is my first time that an idea went to fruition.
Yeah.
So so I'm going through all those newbie feelings, and he has all these long-term feelings. So he puts these no parameters on me, and then that arouses either a fear or pissed offness, because that's what
Agreed.
It's like, what do you mean? Because he's also a husband. So
Yeah.
it just happened a week and a half ago. I wanted to do something really special for the last.
That's be on the recording.
Sorry. For Shavuot, I really wanted to do something special because we're almost going to be married for 10 years, and the little mini vacation was going to cost us a few thousand, and we always put money back into the business, and he told me no, and I said, something's got to happen, and I'm
Well, he already knows the formulas. He just says no to everything.
He just told me no. And this new client came along, and we're in the education business, and they needed about 40 hours a week as a full-time, whatever. It tripled our revenue for just that month.
Just because you had the motive, yeah.
Yes, so I don't recommend it. He enjoys it, but I don't recommend it. But yeah. So.
Thank you. All right, so, one thing that they said that we should just take away, it only takes 24 hours to double. You can double anything in 24 hours. You can double anything in 24 hours. It's late. It's late, and we will finish this next week, but let me just show you a little taste. Next week, what we're going to talk about is actually my most favorite concept. I'm going to tell you about when a problem comes along. It's a concept that I've used in my own life, the Kabbalah has taught me. When you overwhelm the problem with 100% spiritual and 100% physical effort, and you leave zero possibility for failure, it guarantees to create the miracle. I'm going to share one example with you, and then we'll end for tonight. There was an ingredient that I needed for a product that I cannot find anywhere in the world. If someone has this ingredient, it's a game changer for me. I have to find this ingredient. I gave myself 24 hours to find the ingredient. Every expert I called says, does it exist? So what did I do? I went on Google. I'm telling you the physical part. I'm not telling you the spiritual part yet. I went on Google and I said, ingredients. I just wrote the ingredient. I went on ChatGPT, I wrote ingredient. I just started to collect the data. Then I wrote ingredient expos. 4 expos came up all around the world. That day, I booked my flight for each one of them. I said, I'm gonna go there. I don't even know what I'm going into. Walk into the biggest expo was here in Anaheim. 3,000 booths. I just went, booth 1, do you have this ingredient? No. Do you know where I could find it? No. Do you have this ingredient? No. I asked people who were making cheese and cracker, like booths that had nothing to do with the ingredient. I said, creator, I'm gonna do it till I collapse. The flywheel will take off. You will then bring me the ingredient. My job is to scour the earth until nothing else I can do. Then the creator solves. I think it was booth like 95. The guy said, we don't have the ingredient. I said, do you know anybody who does? He said to me, he said something in like Korean to the other woman. We were talking Korean back and forth. And he said, look, I have the ingredient, but it's not going to be available for 6 months because there's a study done on it and all these things, and I can't reveal it to you and all these things. I said, look, let me talk to your CEO. Let me talk to Joe. He's like, you can't talk to Joe. I said, give me 24 hours to talk to Joe. I said, I'll pay any amount of money, let me talk to Joe. I forced him, I talked to Joe, I said, Joe, I sent over like a legal document, the NDA, I said, everything's between us, just tell me what's going on. Signed a bunch of stuff. He's like, look, we have the ingredient, but I said, Joe, I need the ingredient. And we went back and forth. And then I had 3 lawyers to come on to verify it's the ingredient. After the lawyers came on, they said, David, it's not the ingredient. $10,000 later, it's not the ingredient. Doesn't matter. 2 days later, that lawyer gets like a random email from another lawyer about some place that had the ingredient. So he emails me, and this happened last week. He emailed me. He's like, here's the ingredient. And how did it come? Never in a million years would it came from that way. But I know that it could not have came unless I suffocated the system. The reason why I went to every expo, because I have to suffocate the system. I had to go to the expo that's in Canada and Chicago, because I have to physically show the creator that I suffocated the system. Because it's the one expo you don't go to, that's where it is. And it's not that the ingredient's there, it's that the energy is there that unlocks it for that lawyer to tell that lawyer to tell that lawyer to randomly email it to him. Does that make sense? So what I've learned is don't think about what's gonna happen and what is the ticket gonna cost and when am I gonna get that. You just throw everything at it. I haven't even told you what to do spiritually at it, but physically you throw everything at it. Physically alone will do it. Physically alone, it pops the pimple. It just bursts. I can't explain it. And if nothing happens there, it happens somewhere else because energy is not lost. So just throw everything at it. And that's what we're going to learn next week. All right, guys, thank you.